John Brown and Nick Durst, live on the UCY.TV network. Around the world, sports, politics, and more with John Brown. Keep it going.
Nick, can you hear us?
Yes.
Awesome. Sorry, with all the heavy metal, it's hard to know. It's hard to know when the intro is on. But hey, it's September 28th. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock Eastern, and I'm joined with my co-host Nick Durst, and this is Spam. What's going on, Nick?
Well, welcome everybody to another edition of Sports, Politics, and More. And obviously, this is a big time for sports, politics, and more. But we do have to start the show off with the biggest news of the day, and that would be me saying happy birthday, John.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks. It's kind of weird. It didn't really feel like my birthday because I was at work all day, but I guess that's what growing up's all about, right?
That is very true. And, this past birthday of mine, I went to work. Nobody knew it was my birthday. I went home, and, that was that. So... very interesting day.
It's essentially what I'm at right now, too. My office, if people don't know, I work in the fashion industry, so it's like 99% women. And whenever there's a birthday, they end up having like this big like pinkberry party, and I hate that kind of stuff, so I purposely was hiding it.
Well, you aren't the only person hiding stuff. If you let's look back at Monday night on the debate. It was very crazy. Why don't you give us your analysis first?
So, first off, as far as like the incredibly biased media goes, what I really got out of it was just like the deck's stacked. The media and the elitist globalists that they are have picked Hillary, so it doesn't matter what us plebs think. The idea that, this guy is A, a registered Republican, and B, a journalist, you take that with as something that's, a positive. So you think that, so this guy will be, integrity. He'll kind of be like Matt Lauer. He'll ask them both hard questions. But instead, they really gamed the refs a lot. They bitched and moaned about Matt Lauer, said that he was a sexist, all this other nonsense. They really leaned on it hard, and that way, this guy was just, completely in bed with them. I know it's only a 90-minute debate, so he can't talk about everything. But what he managed to talk about was essentially every talking point that's on the Hillary website. They brought up birtherism, which is nonsense. That's just a political talk story. Oh, make him look bad. They talked about him calling a girl Miss Piggy 20 years ago. So he said something mean about women 20 years ago. He said something that is racist. Let's see what else they went after. Oh, his taxes. Meanwhile, they didn't mention a thing about Hillary. Any of the, pick a scandal. She has so many of them, from Whitewater all the way to Benghazi, emails, the whole nine, nothing. The Congress is actively interviewing Comey, the FBI director, today. You could have watched it on TV. So it's still ongoing. No questions. Nothing about it. Like that's ridiculous. But if you look at all the online polls, you can actually see that the internet thinks that Trump won anyway, and I think that because.
But to cut you off real quick, the internet polls, I would say all of them were voted on by Americans, and that's really what matters. The Americans' votes.
Absolutely. Some of the pundit class that wants to try to project on what they think, should have been the outcome. That Hillary won, blah blah blah. All these online polls are being trolled, blah 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 blah. Like, okay, so maybe you could say that about one poll. Maybe you say the Breitbart poll is bullshit, or maybe you say the Michael Savage poll is bullshit. Maybe you say the Drudge Report's bullshit. But the idea that Time Magazine, every single poll is bullshit, other than CNN. It just shows you, A, Hillary Clinton is trying to paint a picture of America that's not realistic. That the economy's great and we should just keep doing what we're doing. She said a bunch of just ridiculous stuff about race. Essentially, America is all racist, and we're all a bunch of racists.
Yeah, and it's so like you were saying, the moderator was a complete joke. I don't know if it was his idea or he was ordered to do this, but not one of any of the scandals with Hillary Clinton were mentioned. Her health wasn't mentioned by Lester in a question. Her emails weren't mentioned. Benghazi wasn't mentioned, and all these treaties or whatever. Yet, on the other hand, all the typical media talking points about Trump that you see from these uneducated people online were all addressed. And then the idiots that are Hillary supporters today, all over my Twitter and Facebook, saying, oh, Hillary really got Trump good because Trump refused to say he'd release his tax forms or whatever. But Trump clearly said, I'll release my taxes as soon as they're done, like being investigated or whatever. And he said, that's what the lawyers told me to do. And he said, but I will release them right now if Hillary will release her emails. Hillary didn't address that, and neither did Lester Holt, and that's a disgrace.
Yeah, so if you actually look at the statistics online, you can see that not only did the mediator, quote-unquote, fact check, but he interrupted Trump 40 times. He only interrupted Hillary 7 times. And he never asked Hillary a follow-up question. So not only were the questions fucking, layups, but he never followed up. Where he followed up with Trump on almost every one of them. The real cornerstone one that really bothered me was the war in Iraq. So essentially, they're gonna get Trump for being, quote-unquote, pro the war in Iraq. Because he says, yeah, I guess so. On a Howard Stern interview, he's a private civilian. He's getting his news from CNN, which we know is useless, and they asked him his opinion on a Howard Stern morning radio show. Hillary Clinton was in Senate and voted for it. How do you get on Trump for that and not Hillary Clinton? That's insane. I was watching that, and I felt like I was taking crazy pills.
I want to know if anyone actually talked to Sean Hannity after the debate, because he was there, and I don't think he'd have any reason to lie.
Well, they never will, because it doesn't, it's not part of the agenda.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, the idea, though, is it doesn't matter. Even if he was on the Howard Stern show going, yeah, we got to get the weapons of mass destruction, blah, 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 blah. He wasn't. You can listen to it on YouTube. He basically said something to the effect of, yeah, I guess so. But the reality is he's a civilian. Who gives a shit what he says? Hillary Clinton was in government voting for it. So not only did she vote for the war in Iraq twice, she also was Secretary of State, which is the lead diplomat in America, essentially fourth in line to the president, when she destabilized Syria and Libya. And that wasn't brought up at all. So the mediator, the media, and Hillary all crucified Trump for a freaking radio interview with Howard Stern 12 years ago, rather than the people that were actually pushing the buttons to make this war happen. It's so aggravating. The one, good thing about it is that when I go and I look online and you see that Trump is winning in all these polls, there's a bunch of blue states that are starting to lean towards Trump. Minnesota, might go Republican for the first time in like 50 years. So there is some light at the end of the tunnel, but it was just watching it go on was very aggravating. And the one thing I think was really like a really good point of his was the fact that he showed a lot of restraint. Listen, you could tell at the end, especially with the how they ended it with you said some mean things about women. Oh, he said mean things? Hillary's actions have gotten people killed. Like, how are those two things even comparable? But, he could have gone after Hillary about the whole women thing with Bill being, a rapist and a womanizer, and he didn't. He showed some restraint, and I think that's actually going to help him in the future.
Yeah, and it's so... the thing that really caught me was, first, right off the bat, Hillary said, real quick, we should be living in America where everyone earns paid sick days. Well, don't you think everyone should just be given paid sick days? That's the first thing that caught me. Then the thing that caught me is how Hillary kept saying that Trump was going to bankrupt America and put them in debt with his tax plan. Meanwhile, Hillary, her tax plan would raise taxes by like $2 billion, while Trump's would decrease taxes for the middle class. And then Hillary said that Trump doesn't care about the middle class, just about the wealthy, yet he was going to reduce taxes. So what was your take on those two things?
Yeah, and that's where collusion really comes in. You see Hillary Clinton with the Trump up, trickle-down economics don't work. Like, who wrote you that line, and why was it so well prepared? Like, you sound like a robot. It's so obvious that you got the questions prior to that you had this, like, set up. But, like, the idea that President Obama has gotten us in more debt than every other president ever combined. And she wants to just make it more. Oh, college should be free, blah, 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 blah. And you know what? A unicorn should crawl out of my ass. But that's not reality. Like, the idea that any of her plans are anything other than status quo is insane. And the idea that the status quo is going to get us anywhere. Right now, the only reason that we're not in a hardcore recession is because of the interest rates are artificially, by the Fed, being kept low, incredibly low. If they were the way that they're supposed to be normal rate, the stock market would crumble quite a bit. The government is essentially cooking the books right now. But they do that a lot in election years because they try to take the economy out of it, so they very much cook the books. The problem is our GDP growth. When that came out, it was only 1.3%. It's the first time a president has ever gone 8 years without having at least 3% growth. So that's saying that our economy only grew by 1.2%. That's stagnant. And what happens with stagnant is there's no more investment, no more growth, no one's making any money. So the idea that, everything's great, blah, 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 is bullshit. It's not even remotely true. And the same thing with the unemployment number that the media loves. Oh, the blah, blah, unemployment rate's only 5%. Oh, if that's reality, where are you getting that statistic? It's from when you file for unemployment. The Department of Labor says only 5% of people are filing for unemployment. But the idea is after 6 months, you no longer get unemployment benefits, so you stop filing. And they just assume you got a job.
Yeah, it's a messed up system. It really is. We actually have a little conspiracy theory going on in the chat room here. And as always, if you want to ask us any questions or contribute to the show, write to us in the USOI lobby chat or tweet us. I'm at Nick_Durst. John's at S_sports, so you can tweet us at spam_UCY TV. Or you could give us a call. I don't think the phone lines are working, though, for like the 5th week in a row. But it's 1-718-717-8296. Hopefully, if you give us a call, we'll go through. If not, you can blame UCY's Skype account for that. So here's the little conspiracy theory going on in the chat. I'll sum it up for you. I am Lone Frog. Noticed that Hillary scratched her nose a lot, and Otto wanted to know if that was Hillary signaling Lester, and I am Lone Frog said every time she scratched her nose, Lester was prompted to fact check, interrupt, and redirect Donald Trump's questions. And he also said that I think some poker players were watching to catch that one. She sure did have an itchy nose if she wasn't signaling. So
I actually, they're reading an article from, I think, Breitbart. I'm not 100% sure on who wrote the article, but I read that article as well. And you know what? I'm normally not very much of a conspiracy theorist, but I think there's something there. Hey, let me actually hold on 1 second, Nick. We got a caller. Let me add him. Let me add him to the call. Ding, 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 ding. Sorry for the delay. Let's see if we can get him in here. Our field reporter, Andrew, who's covering the debate for us, let's see what he has to say.
Yeah, he was very close to the action out in Long Island.
I think he was live tweeting as well. I'm not 100% sure. I actually stayed off Twitter for once.
Hey, guys.
What's going on, brother?
Okay, first of all, John, you are correct. I was live tweeting during the debate, obviously. And to give my perspective on this whole debate, I want to talk about the appearance because nobody's really talking about, the appearance. And then I want to bring up another issue that they didn't bring up. First up, appearance. Oh, boy.
Andrew, I got to ask you before you go to appearance. Maybe you're going to talk about this. Why was Hillary Clinton so happy? She could have wiped that smile off her face on Monday night.
I was going to bring that point up. First of all, Trump, he was making weird faces. He was moving his lips in a weird way. I think because they were saying that, he might have a cold. Okay, that's a good excuse. But he was making weird faces overall when Hillary was talking. And then what Nick just brought up, Hillary was smiling like she was basically what Michael Savage says at best all the time. She's wearing pajamas in a mental asylum. That's what she looked like on camera. And, if you are an undecided voter, okay, you're basically going to think, okay, these guys don't look good enough to be president. But in terms of the issues, I honestly thought that Trump did okay. He didn't do great. He has 2 more debates left to prove that he can be, what's the word I'm looking for?
Presidential?
Just be great, Trump. Be like President Trump, exactly. And, obviously, there's 2 more to look forward to. We have one on a Sunday night and then one on a Wednesday night. Now, Sunday night, I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch because it's the holiday weekend, but I guarantee you this. I'm looking forward to the vice presidential debate next week.
So,
I got to tell you guys something. If you asked me right this second, without me looking up, I couldn't tell you who Hillary's VP is.
His name's Tim Kaine. He's a creepy weirdo. And when he was in the Senate, he voted against funding the VA. He voted against the VA funding bill that John McCain tried passing. He's a fucking scumbag. And the reality is that if you read the DNC leaked emails from Wikipedia, from WikiLeaks rather, he was written in as the quote-unquote vice president back in 2008. So essentially when Hillary Clinton decided that she was going to step aside for Obama, they were like, Tim Kaine's going to be our guy. So, the fix has been in for quite a while. And it's one of the reasons that they're so upset that it's not working out. I don't know if either of you guys saw that video of Hillary Clinton going, I don't understand why I'm not 50 points ahead, like an unhinged psychopath.
Yeah, why don't you, Andrew, did you see that video?
Which one?
About when Hillary was saying, you may be asking, why is Hillary Clinton not 50 points ahead in the polls?
Oh, you mean that goofy video of her looking like she's wearing pajamas in a mental asylum?
Yeah, well, yeah. I only saw the Vine of it. I don't really know. What was she saying there? What was her whole point?
I think she was trying to talk about right to work, and then all of a sudden she just brought that point up. And I'm thinking, what does that have to do with right to work and talking about working families where working families haven't gotten anything good from Democratic administrations?
Yeah, she that video was actually played to people at one of her little stupid rallies that nobody shows up to, and I guess they didn't do a lot of editing to it, so it actually made it to air. But she essentially she gets all worked up and she's yelling like she always does because she sounds like a robot. She can't she can't really articulate without becoming a psychopath. But she goes on this rant about why she's not. You might be asking yourself, why am I not 50 points ahead? Like I'm basically like a crazy psychopath. So
So
you
what was
know,
her answer? What was her answer to that? Like her own question.
I don't know. She said something along the lines of, "You might be asking yourself that, but you know, you got to get out and vote." Blah 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 blah. Hillary Clinton talking point nonsense. You know, maybe you know what? Maybe it's one of the side effects of the crazy meds she's on.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, here's something else I wanted to bring up, guys. And maybe you'll think this is idiotic that I'm bringing this up, but I am curious to know what Trump and Clinton have to say about the heroin problem we have in this country. Now, people are going to say, "Oh, well, it's not important," yada yada yada. Well, keep in mind, we've never had a heroin problem more serious in American history than this time right now. So I'm hoping at the town hall in a few weeks, if somebody's listening, if you're going to be at that town hall, if you get the chance to ask Trump or Clinton a question, ask them their viewpoint on the heroin problem, because it's getting worse and worse every single day.
It's very unlikely, though, that anyone could just ask a question. They're probably all screened and planted by people to say, "Oh, what do you think of this? And why are you this?" But I mean, it's a good idea in theory, but I just don't think anyone would actually have the opportunity.
Actually, Andrew, if you look it up on YouTube, you can probably find it. Donald Trump has addressed the heroin epidemic in America, and he actually talks about it in New Hampshire, which is bizarre. But it's one of the reasons that he's so pro securing the border, because so many drugs are flowing through the border from Mexico. And he was saying how it gets everywhere, and how all the way up in New Hampshire, there's even all the way up there, that far from the border, they have a really bad heroin problem right now. So he has addressed it, and I think part of his policy really does. When you secure your border, that stops the flow of drugs to a point. But obviously, people are going to still try to smuggle them in. But when you make illegal immigration so much harder, and you make the benefits of becoming here illegally much harder to get, then less people come here illegally, then less mules, blah 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 blah. It's like the same idea is now it's just harder to get any type of drug in America, and hopefully that will help. At some point, do something to quell the epidemic.
I agree. Overall, what you just said, John, beautiful answer.
My real concern is, even if you are a Hillary supporter and you can kind of get past the fact that you had crazy Botox and was shaking up there like a lunatic, she's so detached from reality that she honestly thinks that 4 more years of Barack Obama's policies will make it better. When you can't turn on the news, every 6 weeks there's a riot where some city's getting burnt down. Race relations in America have never been worse.
Well, also keep in mind, San Diego's going to hell right now. Did you hear what happened in San Diego?
No, what's happening?
Nick, do you know what's going on in San Diego?
Maybe the Padres and Chargers keep losing. I don't know what's going on there.
I don't know, because I wasn't really paying attention to it, but I heard Black Lives Matter's going mad in San Francisco again.
Ugh.
Not San Francisco, San Diego. My bad. My bad. That was an old report. Here's the new report.
Is that an old report or a new report?
Princessism. My apology.
Is that an old report or a new report?
I got to tell you, though, man.
Hang on, guys. I got it. John, continue.
Like, the idea that Hillary Clinton is inviting these people, these Black Lives Matters idiots, to, not only is Obama inviting them to the White House, but Hillary's placating to them as well. The idea that they're going to make the black community any better is, asinine. If anyone listens to Larry Elder's radio show, if you don't listen, I highly recommend it. He has a really good take on it. But essentially, what the Democratic Party is tried to do with the black community is replace the father with the welfare check. But there's a lot more things that a father does for a family rather than just support them with money. Yeah. Between raising the children, passing on mores, there's a million different things. So now we look at a generation of African Americans that are doing worse. And
I got it, guys. Sorry to interrupt, but in San Diego, I believe this was earlier today. I think it was 15 hours ago, right? 15 hours ago. Okay. El Cadron, California, after the shooting death of a black man. They basically shot a black guy in San Diego, and now people are going nuts in San Diego because of this.
It's like the same thing every freaking day. You know what I mean? Like it's gotten ridiculous and it's gotten old.
Well, this brings my next point, and Andrew, I know we got to go soon, but I got to get your take on this. During the debate, they're talking about stop and frisk. Trump's saying how there's been 4,000 shootings in Chicago this year, and they say, Black Lives Matter, but then why are black people shooting black people, which makes no sense. And then Dopey Hillary goes, de Blasio's doing a great job keeping crime down in New York by getting rid of stop and frisk. Obviously, Trump said, that's an idiot. You're an idiot. But de Blasio is a dope, and Giuliani got stop and frisk installed, and it worked. But I can't believe Bill de Blasio is mentioned in the presidential debate.
Okay, I'm really going to get into this now because I think Hillary hurt my emotions on Monday, and now hearing it again from somebody else has made my emotions even more outraged right now. For her to bring up saying that Bill de Blasio is helping New York City in crime, well, Mrs. Clinton, do you realize that you're not the average New Yorker, okay? I have to deal with it every single week that I go into Manhattan. There are homeless people everywhere you look in Midtown Manhattan, and some of them are criminals because they have heroin. True fact. This is true. I see this every single week that I'm in Manhattan. Okay? And overall, you want to talk about stop and frisk? First of all, when stop and frisk was in low-income communities, especially black ones in New York City, crime went down. Trump was bringing up that point, and I'm glad he did, because at this rate, we seriously, and I mean seriously, have to bring back stop and frisk in order to bring crime down in cities outside of New York, like Philadelphia, Chicago, Detroit. Those are three cities that could be beneficial to stop and frisk policies.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys are part of that Facebook group, Justice, but I was arguing with some fucking idiot in there yesterday about this.
Come on, John. I'm the one that I take.
Justice? You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, the idea. So this is basically the example I gave to this fucking kid to try to break it down Barney style for him. The idea that stop and frisk is racist is retarded, because if you honestly think that the police are sitting around a table and they're planning where they're going to go explore and what beats they're going to hit. All right, where are the black and brown people that we can fuck with? Yeah, all right, circle. No, you idiot. They're going to those places because those are the high gun violence places. They so happen to be the black and brown communities for the most part because black and brown people tend to be in more poverty, and violence and poverty usually go hand in hand. So the idea of saying that it's racist is retarded. It's the stupidest argument I've ever heard. And then the second argument is, well, 9 out of 10 people that got stopped had nothing on them. Well, it's not about that, you idiot. The same way that a DUI checkpoint isn't about catching drunk drivers. You set up the DUI checkpoint near bars or baseball games or wherever people are drinking, and it's not to catch them drunk driving. It's to deter them from drinking and driving. So now you've had a couple beers, you're about to get in your car, and you go, you know what? I've heard or I've seen that they're doing DUI checkpoints, especially like, for example, on St. Patrick's Day. A lot of people know that on St. Patrick's Day there's a lot of drinking, so that they know that there'll be DUI checkpoints, so they don't drink and drive. It's the same idea. Now, is that racist towards Irish people? No, of course not. That's ridiculous. And African Americans who say that, all they're saying is we don't want the police in our neighborhood. That's all they're saying. And you know what? Look at crime that's happened in New York City since the NYPD has taken a step back in New York City. So the NYPD has taken a step back after the killing of Officer Lou Ramos, and now look at crime in New York City. It's worse than it's been since before Rudy Giuliani.
And keep in mind what John just said, I completely agree. The New York Police Department is so politically correct because of that liberal communist Bill de Blasio. It's a true story. And obviously, it's not just the gun problem that we have. It's also heroin, okay? Sometimes in these low-income communities that we're talking about here, that's where the heroin is usually distributed, okay? The police need to bring back stop and frisk overall. Okay, plain simple. We need it back because the past 2 mayoral administrations in New York City, okay, I have not seen crime rates this bad in my lifetime. I've always been in a safe New York City. This is new to me, okay? I'm going to be honest. For 21 years in my life that I've lived in this city, this whole crime problem, in my opinion, I've never dealt with it before. Honestly, no.
Yeah, it's bad, man. The city's getting very, very similar to how it was with Dinkins. And they're so short-sighted.
Before Ed Koch, because my dad told me a true story, that before Ed Koch was mayor, New York City was just like this, he told me.
Yeah, it was the Dinkins years. And that's when we had, we had
Dinkins, too.
Yeah, so, the city, what they don't realize, though, is when you let your city go to shit the way Detroit or Baltimore has, big business and big corporations, they all leave.
Of course they leave. Of course they leave. They don't want to deal with low income problems.
Manhattan is the most expensive real estate in the world. The idea that we let homeless people piss and shit in Midtown Manhattan on the streets where we have, my office building.
Let them sleep on the street.
It's insane. It's really crazy. But right now, what we need to concentrate on is November, because I don't think Donald Trump's the perfect candidate, but honestly, anything's better than Hillary at this point. I would vote for Jill Stein before I vote for fucking Hillary.
Andrew, you're going to be joining the campaign trail for Donald Trump.
In that regard, I'm going to be honest. I don't see myself going out there campaigning for Donald Trump, because really New York is a lost state, because obviously the electoral votes are going to go to Hillary. My main focus after this election is, of course, the New York City mayoral one, because everything is at stake in that one, because I honestly feel that New York City could have a Republican mayor again. So, listen, I'm going to be voting for Trump, and then let's see how 2017 ends up. Hey, I got to get going, guys.
All right, thanks, Andrew.
Well, here's the thing about the election in New York. There's one city that'll definitely vote for Trump of the 5 boroughs. That's for sure. And it's going to be a landslide. Isn't that right, John?
Staten Island. It's the one conservative county in New York City. But you know what? I think Andrew is a little off on that by just writing off New York. If you look at Trump's numbers in New York during the primary, he did phenomenal. So obviously New York's been a blue state for so long, but they don't love Hillary. Listen, Hillary has almost lost this to Bernie. So I look at that. When I look at the electoral map, I look at anywhere that Hillary either lost to Bernie or was, close to places where she could, essentially lose here. Also, what we don't know is what's coming in the October surprise. Julian Assange says that he has some, real damning information about Hillary Clinton that still hasn't come down.
How about that? Maybe. I have a rumor I heard a rumor that she had an affair with Yoko Ono. I don't know how true that is.
That would be hilarious. But my main concern about the October surprise is the fact that the media might just not report on it. Yep. Like she passed out on 9/11. That was what, 3 weeks ago. We haven't seen the video since.
And why? No question about her health of the election. You know what Donald Trump needs to do? He needs to do his own broadcast on his Facebook. We do Facebook Live broadcasts. It's the newest thing now. My company does it every day. We get around 3,000 viewers a minute. So Donald Trump could get 3 million viewers a minute, and he could just be able to talk and have his own platform. But I don't know if that's going to work, because it's really just going to be Trump supporters listening. But what I will say is history is on Trump's side, because when is the last time that after a Democrat was in office, a Democrat won the office again, and vice versa, Republican? Hasn't happened in a while.
I don't think it's happened ever after 8 years of one party ruling, then the other party ruling. No, because it's always, after 8 years, it's usually a referendum on what's going on. So normally, no. I don't, honestly, that's probably a really good question, because I don't think that's ever happened.
Yep, so like I said, history is on Trump's side. And then even just going back to the 80s, you factor in Carter's 4-year reign, Bush, even with that, it always goes back and forth, Republican, Democrat. So,
you know what? I really think the Trump card is in this particular election, if you look at Trump's outreach to the African American community, Hillary's banking on getting like 95% of the black vote. If she doesn't get like upwards of 90 to 95% of the black vote, she loses. And she loses in a landslide.
And for some reason, Hillary thinks the turnout for her in the African American communities is going to be exactly the same as it was for Barack Obama. Why would she think that's going to happen?
She's a crooked old white lady. She's like, if I'm an African American, like she's like the epitome of the worst, because she's this like old white woman who's filthy rich. She hasn't driven a car since 1997. She's, she just like reeks of quote unquote white privilege. But the worst part is that she tries to like act like she doesn't, like, and that's so condescending and so
she kept
annoying.
like trying to say, "Oh, you're rich. You don't relate to people." Hillary makes like $500,000 for a 30-second speaking engagement. She makes so much money a year, and I think Trump said he's going to take a salary of $1 as the president. Hillary's going to be maxing out the check.
Oh, not even the salary. She'll just open up the American government for pay for play, the same way that she did with the State Department. That report from the AP, the Associated Press, which is unbiased, said, half the people that she met while she was the Secretary of State gave money to the Clinton Foundation. Now, at the same time, if anyone hasn't seen Clinton Cash, you can watch it for free on YouTube. It's only an hour long. I highly recommend it. It will really open your eyes. And what I think is like the number one thing that's, there's a lot of smoking guns, is Haiti. The amount of money we gave to Haiti for relief that the Hillary Clinton ran State Department gave to Haiti, and then the Bill Clinton ran Clinton Foundation essentially weaseled out of it, it's so ridiculous. And the fact that the media just pretends like it doesn't exist is like, it's appalling. If you look, Hillary's brother opened a factory down in Haiti where they make clothes for, like Walmart and places like that. And they're like, we gave it this factory, it's making all these jobs, blah, 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 blah. The problem is they built it on the other side of the island, not the side of the island that got destroyed by the earthquake. So you got this money to rebuild the country, and you used it to essentially make a factory for your brother. Like, that's such a slap in the face, but ABC and all these other places refuse to report on it.
Yeah. The main problem here is Hillary is in everybody's pocket. Every, big Wall Street guy, corporation people, and these television network execs, and Hillary's willing to, she's willing to, bend every which way, but it's not possible. She's not a wacky, wavy, inflatable, blow-up doll thing. Like, she can't possibly keep all the promises that she claims she will.
All that is talking point bullshit. She doesn't even have the intention to keeping any of these promises. If you go back and you look at her when she was running for Senate in New York, she had all this other, nonsense about, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. My thing is this. So this is one of the funniest things about this entire Hillary Clinton thing, is if you look, try to find a Hillary supporter and say, hey, what's Hillary's biggest accomplishment? What does she hang her hat on? And there's nothing. There's nothing there, because she's a do-nothing politician. All she did was set up trade deals and blah, 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 blah. Bullshit where she got paid, where you pay Bill $600,000, then all of a sudden your company would get some lucrative government contract for millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah. And that's why, like, did you see the debate night Snapchat filters where it said Trump versus crooked Hillary?
No.
That was perfect.
I haven't been on Snapchat in just like forever, but I did hear that Trump started to spend some money, and one of the things he did was the Snapchat filter.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. So yeah, that is basically what's going on in the world of politics, and of course, we will keep you posted here throughout the election season. So just keep tuning in each week, and we'll have more and more news. But the next time we speak, the MLB regular season will be over. Done. Hard to believe. But we'll be looking forward to the playoffs. And next week we'll be giving our playoff predictions and whatnot. See if they change any from our original predictions back on Knick Knack News. in March. But yeah, John, we got the New York Mets. Right now they're holding on to the top wild card spot. We just talked about it last week and 2 weeks ago. We said, do we think they're going to make the playoffs? And we said, yeah. And since then, they've become the top wild card spot. So, I mean, it's pretty remarkable what they're doing with this depleted pitching roster.
You know what? I wasn't a believer, but I have to give credit where credit's due. I'm not even a big Terry fan, but I feel like he's really gotten a lot out of some of these no-name guys. Jay Bruce is actually starting to hit the ball a little bit too.
Jay Bruce had a home run tonight as well.
I did. I saw that. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that Marlins ace and former Rookie of the Year died over the weekend in a tragic boating accident, which is incredibly sad. He's only 24 years old. He's a phenomenal baseball player and really had the whole world in front of him. It's a real tragedy that happened, and I really liked what the Mets did. I think they were really classy and they really showed. They didn't show their ass. They were really respectful, and I watched that game and I was like, you know what, I'm really happy about all of this. I think they handled this completely the right way.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that the Marlins were even playing that day too, but I guess eventually they were going to play. Yeah, it's just a terrible situation, but remarkably well. But that's how the Marlins handled it.
Yeah. What's called? So, on to other news. Max is now done for the year. So it is essentially, it's Syndergaard, Bartolo, and then...
Apparently Bartolo's got a foot injury.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
And so the Mets kicked ass on Sunday. 17-0. They scored more points than 4 NFL football teams, including the Carolina Panthers with your boy Cam Newton. And listeners out there, John does not like Cam Newton. So that happened, but what I noticed in that game, which I did not know, is Robert Gsellman, the pitcher for the New York Mets, apparently is not allowed to swing a bat due to an injury. What a surprise. So he literally came up on Sunday a bunch of times and bunted every time. Didn't matter if the bases were loaded, didn't matter if there was 2 outs, no outs, whatever. He bunted every single time. And that's really not good for the playoffs to have a guy who's literally giving up himself every time.
What injury does he have that he can't swing a bat?
His left shoulder is injured.
I've never heard of that before.
And the Phillies actually in the second inning or third inning, they didn't know, and Gsellman bunted it to Ryan Howard, and he was playing just so deep, so he got his first career hit on a bunt, and Keith was flipping out. He's like, how do they not know this? He's been bunting every at-bat this season. But I didn't know either. But you'd think a professional team would have a scouting report on that.
Yeah, I guess not, huh?
Yeah, but, you got to be happy with the way Gsellman and Lugo are pitching. But what we really got to be happy about is our future all-star second baseman, TJ Rivera. The guy just hits and hits and hits some more, and he just made a great defensive play as we're watching this game against the Marlins on Wednesday night, September 28th, as the Mets are beating the Marlins currently in the bottom of the 5th, 5-2. But yeah, how great has TJ Rivera been?
Yeah, you know what? I gotta give credit where credit is due. You were calling for him to get called up about a month and a half before he did, and I gotta tell you, I saw him play. Now I've been to 3 games. Recently, the guy can freaking hit. He's just, he's one of those guys. If they can find him a position so he doesn't end up like Flores, I think we're golden.
Do you know who he reminds me of?
Who's that?
Daniel Murphy. Came up late in 2007. All he did was hit, and he just kept hitting the rest of his career. So we're looking at a future MVP with the Washington Nationals.
Yeah, that... So, as you know, my brother's, he works at the Pentagon, and he goes to national games all the time just because they're there. So he always tries to go whenever the Mets are in town, and he's like, it burns him watching Murphy play down in D.C. It's just and not only seeing Murphy play because, obviously he's a fan favorite, homegrown guy and everything, but what he did in the playoffs last year, he's essentially continuing this year. I know he's out with a buttocks injury right now, but if you look at his numbers, they're ridiculous.
He's been a pain in the butt for the Mets this year. He had a hit in literally every single game against the Mets. First time that's ever happened.
Oh yeah, what you call it? That was what my brother was saying too. He's like, essentially every time I go watch him play at the Nationals, he has like 2 hits and a double and a triple and a home run. And he just fucking destroys the Mets.
Yeah, and that's why he's leading the league in hitting, and he's likely to win the MVP. At least I think he deserves it, because if you put Murphy on the Mets, they're actually probably in first place. And you take off the Nationals, they're probably just a wild card team.
So I'm looking at his stats right now. He has 530 at bats, 88 runs scored, 184 hits, 47 doubles, 5 triples, 25 home runs, 104 RBIs, 35 walks, and 57 strikeouts. His batting average.
I think Bryce Harper likes having him behind him. Oh, geez.
Oh my God, like that's insane. He's batting 347, and I brought this up in like June, and everyone was like, it's only June, meh, 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 meh. 347 for the year. Holy shit! I think the most impressive part about that is I don't really look at home runs, triples, or doubles separately. You try to bake them all together. His extra base hits are up by like 30. It's nuts.
Yeah, I saw it coming. I really did. Me and you both said in the offseason they got to bring him back. Sandy didn't like him, apparently, because Murphy spoke out against gay marriage and because Murphy took time off to see the birth of his child. And after that, Sandy was like, I don't want this guy back, which is really a disgrace because you don't let MVPs walk out the building for $12 million a year for 3 years.
Listen, first of all, Sandy, you brought back John Neese after he called your manager a fucking faggot and he talked shit on the way out of town. So let's not pretend that was the reason. The real reason was they're cheap fucks, and they knew that they could only sign either him or Cespedes, and they waited and waited and waited, and they signed Cespedes.
Just a disgrace. And another disgrace would be the New York Giants.
Ugh. Made me so that game pissed me off to literally no end. Like we had the game locked up.
At halftime, I had a good feeling the Giants were going to blow it because they stopped scoring. And hey, Eli did what he does best, and that's throw interceptions. You
know what? That last interception was really gut wrenching. But you gotta blame who's to blame here. Not only was that penalty terrible on that punt, but
Adams, what a jackass! He on the block punt. What was he thinking? He wasn't even near the play.
Yeah. So not only was that just that's terrible, and I blame the head coach because wackadoo. That's you're obviously not coaching the right way if some guy who's barely on the fucking team thinks he can get away with something like that. But that was a real big game changer. But other than that, you really got to take a look at this defense. This defense fucking stinks.
I told you that. I said before week 1 they stink. After the Cowboys game, they look great. I said they're freaking awful still. They're not a good defense. They can't cover anybody. Landon Collins sucks. Eli Apple is not good now. He's in the he's out. He's hurt. They're in a lot of trouble there. And I think you agree with me.
Absolutely. I was actually talking about this with a friend of mine who's a Jet fan over the weekend when we were watching the games. Honestly, they did Tom Coughlin dirty by
worse.
Not last year, the year prior when they fired all his coaches, they brought in all these new people. So essentially, you made the coaching change without making the coaching change. Then you made the coaching change this year, But essentially, you did it 3 years ago when you got rid of his offense and you changed everything without him. But none of this was really Tom Coughlin's fault because it's all Jerry Reese's fault. You got to look at his draft picks have been completely.
They did apparently not one of Jerry Reese's draft picks from the years 2012 through 14 are on the roster. That's terrible. Terrible.
It's terrible. Like the NFL isn't like any of the other leagues. You have to build from the draft. You just have to. And listen, if we built an incredible offensive line or an incredible defensive line or something like that, like we had something we could hang our hat on that we did in the draft, then I'd say, all right. But instead, we've bounced out all over position-wise. We've picked here, picked there, and we've tried to outsmart people. it's not, the one I give him a pass on is the David Wilson, because the guy had a neck injury and couldn't play football again.
And he got lucky having Beckham fall to him, because if they redid that draft, the guy's going first overall.
Oh, absolutely.
He was just stupid. Absolutely. And that brings me to the other point about this game Sunday. I don't know if it's Eli's fault for not looking at him or the play call was not drawn up for him, but Beckham is hot. He's catching everything down the field. And then they don't throw to him in the end zone, which was dumb. Then they needed a first down. They only had Beckham run 9 yards instead of 10, so it wasn't a first down. Then you have Cruz and Shepard catching everything on a drive, and McAdoo's like, let's go to our bread and butter. Let's have our fourth string running back Bobby Rainey run to the end zone for a jump ball. I was like, what the heck is this shit?
Yeah, the play calling wasn't there, and you know what? Did you see that Shane Vereen's going to essentially miss the rest of the year?
Yep.
That's going to hurt the Giants.
Should have kept Andre Williams. Yeah, that's going to hurt. Definitely. Yeah, so we'll have to see what plays out there. We're going to give our predictions in a second here, but let's also talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick, baby, and the New York Jets getting destroyed by the Chiefs. Fitzpatrick threw 6 interceptions. I honestly have never seen anything quite like that.
Like I said, I watched the games this Sunday with a friend of mine who's a Jet fan, so he made me watch that game, and I got to tell you, it was hard to watch. Like, I understand that, the game was sort of like still in striking distance till the end there, but Jesus Christ, their offense.
Credit to the Jets defense for holding them to only 17 offensive points, especially with 5 picks coming, 5 interceptions, 8 turnovers in the game, and then finally the last interception was returned for a touchdown. So we got to credit the Jets defense, but the offense was awful. They had 3 receivers combined for 6 receptions on like 20-something targets, which is not good. They all had no more than 40 yards each, and Fitzpatrick was just not good. Yeah,
it's bizarre, but you know what? I was saying this on Sunday. I stick with it still. Fitzpatrick does this. He goes into a town. He's the backup. He wins the job. Plays great. They give him a bunch of money, and then he sucks again.
Yeah, Geno Smith could have easily thrown 6 interceptions. So that's crazy. And it was funny. There was a Twitter poll ran, and it said who should start for the Jets next week. And the overwhelming winner was Joe Beningo. How about that, bro? The other 2 games real quick I want to touch on, then we're going to give our quick predictions. Last week we kind of joked that the Dolphins and Browns was going to be a really close, great game, and it went to overtime. It did. Tannehill and the Dolphins pulled it out 30-24. And then we have to talk about Jacoby Brissett and the New England Patriots shutting out the Texans. I think you picked – you had the Texans winning this game?
No, I took New England. I'm not crazy.
Don't make Tom Brady mad.
Tom Brady mad.
Tom's going to be really happy coming back, being 4-0 most likely. But yeah, the Patriots, they looked great on Thursday Night Football. And that's really us to our first prediction of the week. It's a bye week. Bye week's in week 4. It's very bizarre to me. It makes no sense. But anyway, we're going to have the Bills and Rex Ryan and Rob Ryan, who somehow defeated the Cardinals. They're going to be traveling to Foxborough to take on the Patriots. How do you see this one playing out?
Patriots, they're going to win. And I hate to sound like a Patriot fan or a homer or something, but it's to the point where they could basically get, Vinny Testaverde out of retirement and they'd win this game.
Yeah, I think they have a good chance of going undefeated now, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, and now, don't worry, they're going to get Tom Brady back next.
Let's take accountants here that LeGarrette Blount is leading the league in rushing touchdowns, and 20-plus yard runs. That's what the box stacked against him. Everyone knows he's running. So it's going to be much more easier for him when Brady's back. So we got 6 minutes left on our show here. We're going to do really rapid fire here with these games, and we're going to give our Giant Jet predictions in more depth. So, John, I'm going to give you the name of the game, and you'll just tell me who's winning. Don't tell me any reasoning. First game is Thursday night. Dolphins at the Bengals.
Bengals.
Agreed. Then we got this wacky thing here, and hopefully we'll talk about this when the Giants play in this time slot. 9:30 a.m. in London. What a joke that they're playing in London. You got the awful Colts going. They're going to be taking on the awful Jacksonville Jaguars.
Colts.
Colts, Andrew Luck. Tennessee Titans are going to Houston to take on the Texans.
Texans.
Oh, I think we're going to go with the Titans on this one. I just think it'll be an upset, but the Texans look so bad on Thursday, so I'll say the Titans. Panthers, the 1-2 Panthers taking on the 2-1 Falcons.
I'm going Falcons with the upset.
I'm going to say Falcons as well because they're home, and Cam has not been protected well this year. His rushing yards are down, fumbles are up, sacks are up, interceptions are up. The O-line's not good. Raiders are going to take on the 3-0 Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore.
Ooh. Baltimore's going to lose.
All right, so the Raiders are going to win. I agree with you on that. Broncos are going to take on Jameis Winston, who tried to run past the throwing line by 6 yards at the end of the game last week to throw it. So Broncos at the Bucs.
Oh, please don't steal my snow crabs. I'm going Broncos.
Yeah, Broncos as well. The Cowboys are taking on the 49ers.
The 49ers look like arguably one of the worst teams in football. You just can't pick them.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 49ers because the last time they were home, they destroyed the Rams. So maybe it's something to do with home field advantage. And the Cowboys never fail well against Chip Kelly's offense. Lions at the Bears.
Lions.
Yeah, Lions, Bears not looking good. The Browns, they're taking on the Redskins in D.C.
Let's go Browns!
Well, I would hope so, but I think the Redskins will win. Some more interesting games here. The LA Rams are going to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Cardinals are going to have a bounce-back victory, I think.
Yeah, I would have to say that.
Okay.
You know, Carson Palmer looked terrible, but I know for a fact he's better than that.
All
so
right.
I'm going
so I don't want to cut you off, John, but we got 1 minute left here. So real quick, Saints-Chargers, I'm going to go with the Saints to get their first win.
Chargers.
All right. Chiefs and Steelers, I'm going to say the Steelers have a bounce back after getting destroyed by Philly.
Chiefs, I think they're a special team.
All right. Seahawks are coming to MetLife Stadium and taking on the Jets. I say the Seahawks are going to do what the Chiefs did to the Jets last week. The Seahawks have only allowed like 297 yards receiving this season to wide receivers, plus Fitzpatrick is QB. So I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks beating the New York Jets.
I agree. The Jets look terrible. I don't think there's nothing tells me they're going to be any better.
Yeah, definitely off to a rough start. Probably going to start off 1-5. And then finally, Monday Night Football, the Giants are going to Minnesota to play in that new stadium, taking on the Vikings. I am going to say that despite the fact the Vikings don't have a running back and a quarterback, they will beat the New York Giants and their awful defense.
Nope. I'm going with the fact that Sam Bradford sucks and that they have no running game. And I know their defense is good, but they're going to lose that game.
There you have it, folks. 3 things in life are guaranteed: life, death, and John picking the Giants to win. And that's our NFL picks for Week 4. We want to thank you all for listening once again to Sports, Politics, and More. Stay tuned for more political discussions, sports discussions as the MLB playoffs are starting now. NBA is right around the corner, plus the NHL. It's going to be a busy time in sports.
That's what we gotta do this week.
JJ Inc. from Against